Recordings in progress. Okay, so Saturday was March 18th. March 18th, 2022. On March 18th, 2020 was when the stay-at-home order was put into effect in California because of what was going on with COVID-19. 2 years later. Now, be honest, when this was all going down, who thought we'd be out of it by Easter? Just me. Yeah, just me and Tyrone. It'll be a few weeks. We'll be fine. Everything will be okay. I was wrong by a lot. Okay, I meant Easter 2022, of course. It's obviously what I meant. Not Easter 2020. Okay. So 2 years have passed since the stay-at-home order was issued in California. Can't believe it's been 2 years. Pretty wild stuff. We seem to be, and I feel like I've said this a few different times over the last 2 years, at kind of the end. Okay. The mask mandate has been lifted all over California, which has always been one of the more conservative states in terms of the guidelines. The mask mandate's been lifted in LA County, which was always even more conservative than the state in terms of that. So seems to be that we're kind of getting towards the end of this situation, pandemic, as you would call it. So here's my question, and I want some, I wrote down some stuff, but before I get to my stuff, I would love to hear from you. What have you learned in the last 2 years? What have you learned? What have you figured out? What new things have you accomplished or taken on in the last 2 years during this pandemic?
That people still want to buy and sell real estate.
That people still want to buy and sell real estate. Okay, there you go. That's great. Maria, 100%. I agree. What else? What else did you learn? Or
to learn how to control your emotion, because when you have the ability to control your emotions, you're not reacting like everyone else. Therefore, you are in charge of the situation, and that there's always someone willing to buy or sell regardless of whatever situation we're in.
That's 100% true. 2 really good answers. I love it. Great. What else? What else did we learn in the last 2 years? If you don't want to unmute, you can always put something in the chat box. What else?
Stop underestimating ourselves.
I'm sorry, Tyrone, what'd you say?
Stop underestimating ourselves.
Stop underestimating yourselves. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. 100%. Okay, great. People want to buy and sell, control your emotions, stop underestimating yourself. What else? What else have we learned in the last 2 years?
Being creative.
Be creative. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Be creative.
We learn to adjust.
Learn to adjust.
Forward.
Keep moving forward. Adapt, adjust, right? Whatever word you want to put in there. Pivot, you know, whatever it is. Yeah. Oh, that's a great point. Great point. What else? What else did we learn over the last 2 years with everything that's gone on?
To be prepared.
To be prepared. Okay. Be prepared for kind of anything that life throws at you, right, Denise?
Yes.
Okay. Sure. Be prepared. All right. Out of curiosity, is anyone else listening other than Tyrone, Maria, and Denise, or am I just talking to them 3?
I'm here.
We are
Okay.
listening.
Okay, I'm
listening.
just curious. I'm amazed that I asked this question, what we learned in the last 2 years, and I've got 3 people responding. I'm grateful that they are, but I'm just.
Hey, Robert, what I learned is you better buy a lot. Robert, I learned that you better buy a lot of toilet paper.
You better buy a lot. Yes, yes. Buy a lot of toilet paper and quickly. People buy in bulk.
Robert, I learned that people are willing to be as flexible as you're willing to ask them to be.
Yeah, well, it's a great line. People are willing to be as flexible as much as you're willing to ask them to be. Sure. Yeah, 100%. Great. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so here's my next question. All really good answers, and very similar to all the stuff that I wrote down. What in business has helped you over the last 2 years that you're going to continue to do moving forward? Now that, let's just say that, hey, look, it's kind of coming to an end. What have you, changes have you made, or what adjustments have you made, or what have you learned that's helped your business that you're like, you know what, going forward, I'm still going to do that?
Constantly growing your.
I would say my mindset, because the market will only, or whatever's going on with COVID or whatever, will only affect my business if I let it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say adjusting my mindset, like no matter what, I'm going to help X amount of families this year buy or sell real estate.
Sure. That's great. Yeah. Yeah. Keep your mindset intact. No matter what's going on in the market, there's, people are going to buy and sell. It's like we heard earlier, but it's a mindset thing. Sure. What else? What else are you going to keep doing moving forward that's helped you over the last couple of years?
Doing presentations on Zoom.
Doing presentations on Zoom. Sure. Yeah. I think that's a great tool.
Being a service to my clients and being in front of them, consistently reminding them that I am working and that I am active, like I'm an active agent. So leveraging my social media, wherever the traffic is at, that's where I need to be. Leveraging
social media, letting them know that you're an active real estate agent, staying in front of them. That's great. Yep, 100%. 100%. What else? What else have you done over the last 2 years that you think can help you keep moving forward?
More scripts.
Scripts. Yeah, spent the last 2 years learning some scripts. Not going to stop learning them. Good. I agree. Good job. So, look, there's a lot of things that have gone on over the last 2 years, and I appreciate those of you. And anyone else that wants to keep participating, unmute yourself or put it in the chat box. You don't have to wait for me to be done. A lot of things have gone on over the last couple of years. Obviously, good, bad. Some people really went through some things and stuff like that. So I wrote down a few thoughts on what I've learned over the last couple of years, and some things that we can keep doing moving forward. A lot of it's are things you've already said, so I'm just kind of repeating some of the process. So here's the first thing I wrote down, what I've learned over the last 2 years. Those that work make money. Those that work make money. Yeah, I know, Robert, that's really simple. I get it, but it bears repeating. Those that work make money, and those that don't.
They get luckier.
Yeah, exactly. It's the old thing of like, oh, they get all the luck. It's always, the people that have the best energy, the best work ethic seem to always get all the luck as well. Amazing how that works out. Those that work make money. What I've learned over the last 2 years is very similar to what some of you have said, is that California from day one real estate was deemed an essential business in the state of California, meaning at no point did real estate stop in the state of California, not even for a day. And now, yes, there were some slowdowns. There was, you couldn't do open houses. You had to do things a certain way, but at no point could people not buy or sell real estate. Now, for those of you that don't know, that wasn't the case everywhere. In Michigan, for example, they did shut down. You could not complete a real estate transaction in the state of Michigan. And there was a number of other states. I just remember talking to Dave Abdallah about that when it happened. And so some people some people stopped working. Now, if you stopped working because you actually had real stuff going on, that's different. But some people just stopped working because they just stopped working. And the people that kept working and kept grinding and kept making calls and kept talking to people and kept learning soon found out, to what we said earlier, people were still buying and selling real estate. And all that happened was the pie shrunk. The deals, there were still deals, but the number of agents working shrunk dramatically. So the people that worked got all the deals. Okay. You have to always keep that in mind moving forward. There's always going to be something. Now, a pandemic, maybe not. Okay. But it was 13 years ago, 14 years ago, that we had a global financial crisis. And a lot of people left the business. And yet we've heard from a number of people, or at least I've talked to a lot of people in my career, that those were the most profitable years of their career. Because the people that worked kept making money. Interest rates are going to go up. Well, there's interest rates going up. The people that work will keep making money. There's less inventory. The people that work are going to keep making money. There's always going to be an election. There's always going to be some sort of crisis in some country, whether it be a war, whether it be economics, whatever. There's always going to be something. And what I've learned is a lot of people will always find the excuse not to work. And the people that work will always make the money. So keep that in your mind as you go forward, that the next time an election comes around, the people that work are going to make the money. I mean, it was so amazing how in the middle of this pandemic, there was a presidential election, and how many people were like, well, we want to see what happens with the election. What difference does it make? Go help people buy or sell real estate. It's crazy. The people that work make the money. I wrote down here, the other thing I learned, something was already mentioned as well, is that staying in front of your database is more important than ever. Staying in front of your database is more important than ever, and building your database has never been easier. Staying in front of your database is more important than ever, and building your database has never been easier. Why would I say building your database has never been easier? Why do you think I would say that?
Because people were at home for 2 years. I mean, they were at home a lot more, and then
Sure.
yeah, and then you were able to contact them and ask them if they need help, and you were able to, service them from home, from their house.
Okay. Yeah, 100% right. What else? What's another reason why I would say building your database has never been easier?
Because people are more open to wanting to know what's going on.
Sure, that's also true. Both those are right. And there's another reason why building your database.
Social media.
No, I mean, you could say, but social media's been around for a little bit. What's another reason over the last 2 years that building your database has never been easier?
The interest rates.
No. I mean, interest rates are great, something to talk about. It's never been easier to build your database because so many other agents are not contacting theirs.
Got it.
It's never been easier to steal people's databases. Because as Valerie says, Denise says, more people are at home, more people want information. I mean, gosh, over the last 2 years, people have wanted to know information more than ever before. Even if they weren't buying or selling, they just want to know what's going on, what's happening out there in the world. I'm like a hobbit stuck in my house. I don't know what's happening out there. I got the shades drawn and, I don't know what's happening. They want information, and nobody in their phone that has a real estate license is calling them and letting them know.
Hey,
So
Robert,
yes, Michael.
I got a question. I guess you have an answer on that. Neil was telling us that now than ever, more people stay in their home I think it was 24 years, I think. When I when I started the business, they were moving every 7 years, I think.
Yeah.
Now they're taking longer. So sometimes, that comes into my mind, the question, you call the database, obviously people are not going to move because they are within the 24 years. So most likely what you're looking more there then is referrals, right? Is that pretty much what we're looking for when we call?
100%. It's looking for referrals, and it's also looking for, are they looking to buy another property? Or maybe because in the last 2 years, prices have gone up so high that they're finally able to take the equity out of their house and use it for a down payment on a bigger house. But yeah, it's the referrals. I remember Tony Smith saying one time that every single person in your database knows 2 or 3 people that are going to sell a house in the next 12 months. You just have to be asking for the referrals so you can get those 2 to 3 people. But being in front of, there's all these people that want information, and the agents that they rely on that have sent them postcards or phone calls and a door knock before weren't there. They left them. So now you have an opportunity to provide information, answer their questions, and take someone who wasn't in your database and build them into your database to then get more referrals and more deals. So for those of you that are not taking advantage of that, start today by calling around the neighborhood or door knocking around the neighborhood, people you don't know, and getting them into your database. The biggest source of business we have in the company is the database. Build it. It's never been easier to do that. People are dying for information and their agents are nowhere to be found.
Robert, now that I've been door knocking, I've noticed now, since there's a lot more people home, I'm getting about 20 to 25 contacts from door knocking for at least maybe, an hour and a half or 2 hours, versus before the contacts were significantly less.
That's great. That's huge. Yeah. Great job. Good job, Maria. Way to go. Yeah. People are at home. Great time to call. Great time to door knock. Get out there. Go talk to people. They're there. It's not like it used to be where it's like, well, they leave for work at 8:30. So I got to call them at 8 or try it after 5. They might be home all day. You never know. Yeah. Get out there. Go see people. So I wrote that down there. Okay. I wrote down next things I've learned over the last 2 years. You need to be very, very skilled, but only at very few things to make a lot of money, is what I've learned over the last 2 years. You need to be very, very skilled, but only at very few things. So here's what I mean. Over my career, and a lot of yours' career has been longer, as long, or maybe even longer than mine. We've had to learn a variety of different things, different scripts, different objection handlers, different this, different that, different, all these other different things. What I really learned is this. You need to learn how to talk to people on the phone or at the doors, prospect. You need to learn how to present in a confident manner, and you need to provide great customer service. That's what you need to do. You need to be able to talk to people on the phone or at the doors, and you need to be able to present, and you need to provide great customer service. You don't need to know 40 objection handlers. You need to know 3 or 4 ways of handling 4. In today's world, people typically don't give you the, I've never heard from your company, or anything along those lines. Or if I buy with you, can I get a discount on this? Like we get that every so often, but we really don't. What do we get? We get commission. We get price. We get, I have a friend in the business. You don't need to know a lot. You don't need to be skilled at a lot of different things. You need to be very skilled at a few things. Now, the reason I say very skilled is because Here's the downside. There's an upside of so many agents leaving the business. The upside is you have less competition. Here's the downside. Does anybody want to guess what the downside of so many agents not working is? Anybody want to take a guess? There's one downside of so many agents leaving the business or not working. Here's the downside. Everybody that is working is really good, which means you also have to be really good. See, prior to the pandemic, you might be going on a listing appointment and they're interviewing you, and they're interviewing Bob Smith, who does one deal a year and is kind of part-time and things like that. But they know Bob. He's been a guy he's an agent that's worked the area for a number of years. You don't have to be very good to beat Bob. As a matter of fact, you almost want to let Bob go first because he's going to be so bad that you could be a C presentation and they'll sign the contract with you because he's an F. So you could get away, you could slip and fall on a deal just because there were so many people with bad agents working with them. In the last 2 years, most of those agents fell off. Not all of them, but most of them did. So now everybody that you're competing against is an A+ agent. So you don't have the Bob Smiths anymore doing such a terrible job that you look good just being average. You're going up against the Hal Swayzes of the world on every presentation. So you have to be A+. Because if you're not, then you become Bob Smith. And they interview you, and then they interview Hal, and they go, oh, Christ, this is night and day. So you have got to be very skilled to take listings in this marketplace, but only at a very few things. See, I emphasize that because I think sometimes what we've done in the past is we've bogged ourselves down so much that we don't get good at things we need to. We're kind of good at a lot of things. Or, oh my gosh, should I focus on this? Should I focus on this? Should I focus on that? Stop that. Get really good at prospecting, really good at presenting, and provide great customer service. Everything else is optional. Those three are mandatory. Everything else is optional. Now, when I say get good at prospecting, get good at presenting, I'm talking about confidence. I'm talking about not saying I harp on that all the time, and you all think I'm nuts. And yet I can play presentations of people that say all the time and presentations that people that don't say at all, and you will notice a difference. But that's what you have to be really good at. Be very skilled, but only to very few things. Everything else is optional, which is hard because in 2022, we have so many options. I got to do this, I got to do that. Don't bog yourself down with all that other stuff. Okay. Here's the next thing I learned. For the first time in your life, for most of you, some of you maybe not, but for the first time in your life, most of you, technology can be your friend. See, for some of you, you're kind of tech people, you're tech savvy, you kind of get some of this stuff. For a lot of you, myself included, I've never been a big tech guy. Okay. I'm a talker, which is really hard to do on text message. Okay. And it's, really hard for me to present the way I want to present, via social media. It's hard for me to post something on social. One of the reasons I'm not big on social media is when I post something, I'm like, there's my post, but it didn't really grasp what I wanted to say. It says it, but it's not really the way I wanted to say it, because all you can do is post it. You can't, But over the last 2 years, via Zoom, as Valerie said earlier, I can do more presentations on Zoom. If you accept the basics, this is the key thing here, the basics of technology, it can be your friend. You can do presentations on Zoom, whether it be a listing presentation, a buyer consultation. What if you, or you could show property. You could do virtual showings on, I'm just using Zoom as an example. Could be Teams, Google Hangouts, any virtual platform. But you could do virtual showings. Okay, you have a buyer that's an investor. You know, hey, look, there's a virtual showing. Why don't we hop on Zoom? Let's watch this together and I can answer all your questions, things like that. I could do a listing presentation via Zoom, which means I don't have to drive back and forth. For some of you, you have great databases. They're going to use you. Just, if you could do it on Zoom, do it on Zoom, right? You could do the presentation that way. You could do meetings on Zoom. I'm a firm believer that the more face-to-face you get with people, the better chances you are. Well, why don't you do a meeting on Zoom? Hey, look, why don't we get together, run through some numbers with you? How many times have you ever heard somebody say, well, the numbers would have to make sense? You ever heard somebody say that? I'll sell if the numbers make sense. Okay, great. Well, then why don't we do this? Why don't we hop on Zoom for 15 minutes? Let me show you the net sheet. Let's run through the numbers and see if they make sense. Now I get that face-to-face interaction. I get that personal touch instead of the phone call, the text message, the email. And I don't have to drive to the house, or if they're an investor, drive somewhere else. Utilizing this kind of technology could really help. Utilizing a CRM that can send out automatic emails, text messages, things along those lines. Bomb videos, or whatever video source you might use. Getting that out to people. This is the kind of stuff that goes back to staying in touch with people, getting in front of them. Now, again, the basics, because where some of you have overboarded is, well, you're going too deep into technology and it's taking up too much of your time. I say this all the time with CRMs. Well, Robert, I got to find the right CRM. You won't. Stop looking. Just get the basic one. You're not going to do all the tools that it has, and you're not going to spend $500 a month. What about this? What about that? Get a website that looks good, but you're not selling anything on your website. So it's not an e-commerce site. Get a website that looks good, but you don't need to spend thousands of dollars to do that either. So utilize the technology, the basics of it, and that can extremely help you, some of you, for the first time ever. And you can continue to use that moving forward. I mean, let me ask you a question. Going forward, do you think some people are still going to want to connect virtually? I think so. Some people are ready to get off the virtual stuff, but I know a lot of people. Let me tell you something. In our company, there are some people that are itching to get back to the office. We have a lot of people in our company that have openly said they may never go back to the office. They're like, oh, we're good, man. I got all this stuff on Zoom. We're good. But now everyone's different. Some people have been in the office the entire time. No right or wrong answer. But utilize some of this technology to your own benefit. I wrote down here, next, things we learned over the last 2 years. Okay. As far as our clients go, I've said something for many years, and it's a line that waiters will wait forever. So what I've learned over the last 2 years is you have to identify the people that are waiters and move on from them faster. Waiters will wait forever. In the last 2 years, it's emphasized that more than anything. What have home prices been doing over the last 2 years? Help me. What have home prices been doing the last 2 years?
Going up,
By a little?
by a lot.
Okay. What did interest rates do over the last 2 years? What were interest rates the last 2 years? Were they really, really low, or, average?
Really, really low.
Really, really low. So really, really low interest rates and home prices going up. How many of you know buyers that still never bought anything?
I know them.
So 4 of us. Does anyone else prospect? or it's 12:57 and you're just waiting for me to be done. Interest rates, historic lows, prices skyrocketing, and you know some buyers that still didn't buy anything. Waiters will wait forever. I say this because going forward, when you run into someone that says, well, I want to wait to see what happens, interest rates are going up. Well, that means prices are going to go down. Oh, Christ. Move on. Well, interest rates, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Oh, interest rates dropped 1/100% today. I'm going to wait to see if they tank and go back to 2%. Move on. We've been for years saying waiters will wait forever, move on, move on. And over the last 2 years, there's been no better example that waiters will wait forever because there's been no reason for those that needed to buy a place or were interested in buying a place. And if they didn't do it over the last 2 years, they will never do it. There was never a better time to buy a place if you wanted to buy a house. If you didn't need to buy a house, then it was fine. Throw them away. You have to identify that waiters will wait forever and move on from them faster. You have to get rid of leads faster. To put a bow on this is the last part of that point was you have to get rid of leads faster. The only way though you can get rid of leads faster is to do what? What do you have to do in order to get rid of leads faster? In order for me to get rid of this lead faster, what do I have to do?
Qualify them.
Qualify them. I have to do aggressive lead follow-up and qualify them. Like on the first call, second call, maybe. But if we just have leads of, well, they want me to keep following up and keep following up and keep following up, stop doing that.
Hey, Robert, one thing that I learned when you are receiving leads from Obsidy or if you get it from Redfin, because they put them in a program, if you don't follow up right away, they let you know, and you have emails and whatever, there is no way you can miss the follow-up because then you are concerned about not getting any more leads. So yeah. I think it's important to get a system because the system will remind you, Obsidy always reminds you if you forgot to follow up in any of those buyers that they give you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Very good. Very good. Follow up, aggressive lead follow up. We heard it multiple times earlier when I said, what'd you learn? And multiple people said, people are going to buy and sell. Yes. So no matter what, people are going to buy and sell. Get rid of the leads that aren't going to buy or sell and go find the ones that are. See, if you shift your mentality that I can get rid of this lead because there's more people that want to buy and sell, then you'll get rid of them. But some of us think, well, gosh, where am I going to find another deal? Nobody's buying and selling right now. So you hang on to this lead because you don't want to qualify them. You don't want to throw them away. People are going to buy and sell. Is it the same it was 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago? The number of total sales? No. But the number of agents actively working is also tanked. So yeah, it's hard. It's harder to find a deal right now. It really is. But there's deals out there.
But Robert, isn't this the most time that, aren't there more agents in?
There's more agents with an active real estate license than ever before. But there are less active agents.
So what's considered active then?
Anyone who's actively working. Anyone who's willing to take a buyer, anyone that's going to a class, anyone that's willing to make a phone call. Look, here's the deal. How do I know this? Here's how I know this. We have 185, give or take, agents in our company. I'm not saying this as a joke, and I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm just saying this to be honest. There are probably 75 to 80 agents. I was talking about that this morning. 75 to 80 agents in our company I have had no communication with in 2 years. Now, do we as an organization put a lot of effort into connecting with you?
Yes, 100%.
I mean, do you know how hard it is to ignore me for 2 years?
Pretty hard.
You have any idea how hard that is to do? How hard it is to ignore Neil? Neil sends a voicemail at 7 a.m. 5 days a week. We send out 3 text messages a day. Role play, 12:15 meeting, 3:30 meeting, every day. 5 days a week for 2 years. We send out email campaigns. We send out more text campaigns. We do all these things. Do you have any idea how hard it is to ignore us? And yet there's probably 75, 80 agents that have accomplished that over the last 2 years. And that's a company like ours. Can you imagine what it's like at other offices who aren't as aggressive in trying to get their agents to pay attention?
Hey, Robert, also, some of those agents that you put in on the numbers are working as an employees, like for Redfin and whatever, right?
Sure.
Do they count them also as, as independent contractors,
Yeah.
even though they work for a company for a fee only?
Yeah. Yeah. So the point is that, yeah, there are technically more people with an active real estate license than any time in history, but there's less active agents. So the pie has shrunk in terms of the number of deals, but the number of agents has shrunk crazy. So it's hard. The one thing I'll tell you, in the last 2 years, it's hard. But I tell you, man, this is a business that you have an opportunity to do really good. And it's still going to be a while. There's a lot of agents that are not going to come back to the business. And there's going to be some agents that gradually come back. And I've been saying for 2 years, your goal should be when agents do decide to come back, they have nothing to come back to. They have no database, they have no leads, they have nothing. That was my goal for everybody. And some of you accomplished that. Some of you put a lot of agents out of business, and that makes me thrilled. So you have to just keep going. So as we wrap up here, the moral of the story the last 2 years is you put in the work no matter what's going on in the market. And if you protect your mindset, as Felicia said, if you protect your mindset, if you have real stuff going on, I'm not talking to the people that had real stuff going on. Okay. I'm sorry for those people. If you had real stuff going on, you're excused from any of this. But the truth is, it was a very small percentage of people that had real stuff going on in the last 2 years. A lot of people just made stuff up or made it seem like they had stuff going on. Okay. Those of you that had stuff going on, you're excused. You have real stuff going on. But if you protect your mindset and you accept the fact that no matter what's going on, good or bad in the world, people are going to buy and sell real estate, and you go out there and you just put in the effort, you can do really, really well. All right, everybody. That's all I got. Thank you for